Thank you for joining us on another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast on a Monday night. What's Poppin' edition? We got, as always, my man in the chair, your co-host, Kirk.
Hello, hello.
And I'm your other co-host, Cam. What's going on, Kirk? What's going on, man?
You know, not much. Just hanging around in a giant sea of popcorn tonight. If you're watching on the stream or the YouTube video later, I just got this beautiful green screen that you cannot see from my beautiful wife, and it's being put
clean.
into action.
It's
right?
Clean. Yeah.
So I played with one a couple months ago, and I looked absolutely ridiculous.
I always hate when people, like, I don't know why, it's a pet peeve of mine, and it shouldn't be. Like, I work remote, and I'm on digital meetings all day, and I don't know why it bothers me, but like the really crappy virtual backgrounds, it just bothers me. I'm like, I get it. Like, I can see why you would want to use that. I'm always taking my meetings from my office. Some people don't have that sort of setup available, but like, I would rather look at a blank white wall or like somebody's kitchen or like somebody's dirty house than somebody's like face head getting disappeared, like chopping off pixelate. Like, I don't know why. I find that really distracting. Maybe I'm just a jerk, but it is like one of the weirdest things to me that it just really bothers me.
Yeah, there's a couple of settings when you're first setting it up where it can make it super clean, like how I have it. It's like, obviously that's the desired look, or you can make it look like inverted, where you look like I could honestly look like Gore if I played this enough, like the wrong opacity, and it would be crazy. So I totally feel how that would be distracting in a work from home environment, and I won't do that right now, but maybe off air I might play.
But with the actual green screen behind you, it's ultra clean. It's
right?
Like ultra clean. I mean, that's why they use green screens and blue screens, is because like it pops and so it knows what to cut out. But I'm just surprised that like the built-in StreamYard function can actually cut it out as well as it does. It's
pretty cool.
Impressive.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna sneak into your house one day. I'm gonna take a picture of your exact setup, and I'm just gonna pop on screen one time. It's gonna
look like we're in the same place.
Oh, perfect! I love it.
I like it. Well, it's a welcome addition, Kirk. I'm going to be expecting every week for you to be like somewhere else. You're going to be like, and now I'm on Mustafar, and now I'm on that first planet that Ryan Gosling visits in Blade Runner 2049. Actually, I don't think it's a planet. I think he's on Earth, but
that
like,
one. Yep. Mm-hmm.
On location, underwater in the Avatar world. Like, there's the possibilities are endless, Kirk. I mean, really, like we could go far with it. So I'm excited.
Very excited. Yes.
Well, I'm also excited to be here to talk about movie news. We did miss a week to make room for Thor: Love and Thunder, because we wanted to make sure that we could see that and get the review out as soon as possible. So if you're tuning in and you're like, what? Thor: Love and Thunder, why aren't we talking about that? That's the big movie in theaters. We already reviewed it. So go back and check your podcast, check your YouTube if you're somebody who watches on YouTube, and find it. It is a spoiler-free review, so we were able to go see it early so that we could provide spoiler-free comments. I think we will get deeper into it later and talk about some spoiler-full stuff, because there's going to be a lot of Marvel news coming out very soon. Like, I mean, there's always a lot of Marvel news, as will be evidenced by this episode, but there will be even more very soon because ComicCon is coming up. But make sure you catch up on that. And then tonight, we're just going to kick it old school. What's poppin'? We're going to get into the movie news. We're going to get into the nitty gritty. But first, Kirk, I have to start on a downer that we lost another Hollywood legend, this has been brutal lately with the people that we're losing, especially oddly, someone on Twitter pointed out what a rough couple of weeks it's been for the mafia movie genre, as James Caan passed away this past week at age 82.
Yes.
Which is a bummer. And then we also lost help me out, Kirk. I'm blanking.
Paulie
from The Sopranos. Paulie Walnuts, yeah. From The Sopranos, and that was, preceded that was Ray Liotta. So I mean, it really has been a rough go, but James Caan is such an interesting case. Of course, played Sonny in The Godfather. I think one of his most iconic roles. Look how they massacred my boy. That line always sticks out. He was referencing Sonny in that line, but had a really wide breadth of good films, including Thief, which was directed by Michael Mann, who's a great director, and then all the way up to Elf, which is a really fun performance. He had a diverse filmography and really gave it his all, but had to tragically say goodbye to James Caan at 82 years old. Kirk, what was your reaction when you heard the news?
Devastated, devastated.
Yeah.
I think I was texting you something completely ridiculous and
Yes,
silly,
that's right.
and you immediately responded with, "Hey, James Caan just died," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like really? Like really, really?" I think I was WUT in all caps. So
Yes.
I'm absolutely devastated. Such a treasure. Again, we're losing some cinematic giants right now.
Yes.
And it's a
It's been
really hard
tough.
time. I mean, this is what I imagine like our parents went through, right? Like when they were growing up, where they're realizing, oh no, life is not invincible. These
Yeah.
immortal people that have been on screen and I grew up with and shaped my film likings and even your life, maybe, right? We learn things from movies. It's really unsettling. It's really unsettling.
Yeah, and it's like this is depressing, but like as you get older, you feel closer and closer to the celebrities who are dying because chances
Hmm.
are you've seen more of their work. So like James Caan, I feel like I've seen so many of his performances. Like I watched Misery way too young,
Yep.
scarred me for life, but I always remember thinking he was excellent in that film, and it's a testament to like somebody who totally understands their role in the movie. It's like it's a very subversive kind of plot line whenever you think of traditional horror that Stephen King has created with Misery, but it's such a chilling story, but it only works if James Caan is doing what he is doing. And you look at something like Elf is a great example, like playing the straight man and flexing that comedy genius, because being the straight man is actually a comedic role. People don't think about it that way, but you in many ways have to have better comedic timing than your counterpart because they're saying things that are inherently funny, whereas you have to react in a way that will be funny to the audience. So the dude was just a talent. I think I already mentioned Thief, Rollerball, so many good roles, and just like a person who didn't shy away from roles at all, and had some awesome interviews back in the day. If you go back and listen to sound bites from James Caan, just a really cool guy, and it's a bummer. It's a bummer. Gone too soon.
Yep. And now his son, whose name escapes me, is in the acting world. He's in Hollywood. He's been in a couple of movies as well, and so it's exciting to see his legacy live on in that sense that his son has decided I'm going to do it. He's been doing it for several years, so be interested in what becomes of him in the future. And it's always nice to watch that continue, right? So and see the similarities and see the differences. But James Caan, absolute legend. It's a sad week. Sad week.
Yeah, it definitely is. And then obviously, Tony Sirico, who we mentioned earlier, who is most well known for his role as Paulie Walnuts
Paulie.
in The Sopranos, which is just an all-time great character. The one thing that, you know, the homage that people were paying to Tony over the weekend whenever the news kind of came out, and people were sharing screenshots of The Sopranos with his delivery, like so many iconic lines, and just such an amazing role player in that show, and somebody who makes you laugh, and just he embodies so much of like what makes the mob movie genre so great, or mob TV show. And The Sopranos is such an iconic show. I mean, really glad that he was able to turn in a performance for the ages. I mean, I think it's like 70 plus episodes that he was in that role. But obviously devastating. And like you said, just too many giants of the screen that we're losing this year. And I don't know, it's a tough pill to swallow, but as I always say with these things, you have the art, you have the art, you have the living legacy of the art that you can go back and watch. And thanks to, even now, everything's digitized. Like you have HBO Max, you have all of the episodes of The Sopranos. Like you probably have a decent number of James Caan movies too.
Yeah.
So it's good that you can go back and kind of go down memory lane, but never easy to lose performers who hold a special place in your heart. So
And that's why, we're on almost our 200th episode, and you
we
have
are.
right now 199 ways to view us. We are
That's morbid.
immortalized. in our speech and in probably not 200 videos, but getting close. But I just wanna plug that to say that we'll
Sometimes I
always
wish
be
we
here.
weren't because not, it's like
Mm,
anything. Like if you're a comedian, like not every show is a good show. It's the same with podcasting. Like we have some stinkers and those live
yeah.
forever on the internet. But
Right, and someone will let us know, like, "Hey, episode 47 was one of the dumbest things I've ever
you
listened
said
to."
that Millie Bobby Brown had a great British accent because you failed to realize that she's actually British. Like, yeah, it will that will happen, and you
And then
just
the
have to
pale
live with that.
blonde guy did the same thing with Christian Bale. Loser.
No, we caught that one though. We caught that one in the Love and Thunder review. So hold on, we caught that. We were
The
we were on
mistake
top of
still
it.
occurred. It still
It was
occurred.
1 a.m., Kirk. I mean, what are we supposed to do? You can't be
Well,
perfect.
I appreciate that. It was very late.
It
Yours
was
we did
really
at
late.
9 o'clock in the morning. I don't understand how you made that mistake.
I am a jet engine, Kirk. I just go. All right, here we go. Can we pop it up, Kirk? Can we get into the movie news now?
Well, considering there's popcorn surrounding me at this moment, we
You've
absolutely can pop it up.
you've already popped it up.
I'm ready.
I've never once podcasted with popcorn, and our name is Popcorn for Breakfast. It feels wrong, but I digress. Let's dive into this week's news. There are some interesting stories, really interesting stories actually. The first one is this. I mean, the biggest game on the block right now is Stranger Things. I don't think that's any secret. It still is, you know, gobbling up all of the social media time. It's got if you're on TikTok, you probably hear the Chrissy Wake Up Shmo Yoho song 1,000
Yes.
times a day. Everybody has seen Joseph Quinn everything for the past few I mean, these last 2 weeks since part two came out, it's been absolutely nonstop. Like him doing the guitar solo for Master of Puppets and all of these different things. Um, so Stranger Things is definitely still the flavor of the day. Well, Kirk, what happens when you have a massive show that's an original concept, does huge numbers? What happens to the people who create that show?
They make millions of dollars and they ride off into the sunset, never to be heard again.
No,
No.
wrong. They
Oh,
make
okay.
millions of dollars, but then what do? What comes?
I think
Spin-offs.
oh, that's
Spin-offs happen, Kirk.
right.
The spin-offs. There's always spin-offs for better or worse. I would say usually worse. I mean, Better Call Saul maybe is one of the only exceptions. Like let's think about recent history with television spin-offs. Like remains to be seen with Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead,
Failure.
bad, bad, and they had a bunch of them. Um, Better Call Saul is a good example. That is a good spin-off. But like other than that, recently, it's just not a great model. But they are working on a Stranger Things spin-off. We've known about this for a while. They've spun up the Duffer Brothers have spun up a production company with Netflix under their contract called Upside Down Pictures, and they are working on a number of things, including a Death Note live action adaptation, which Death Note is manga anime,
Mhm.
um, which I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but I will just say that I am vehemently opposed to adapting anime into live action because it just doesn't make sense. Like anime is the most exaggerated form
Yeah.
of animation, and so adapting it to live action seems just like inherently wrong and stupid. But I'll
And they've
just kind of
tried it, right? They've
so
tried
many
didn't
times,
they
so
do it
many
with
times, Kirk.
most notably Scarlet ScarJo, right? With,
Ghost in the Shell.
yeah, which
Bad. Well,
people
that
were
was
mad.
bad because of the whitewashing, and then
Mhm.
also the movie was bad. But they've done it with a number of things. Like they've done it with Cowboy Bebop. They've done it with
Yes.
all kinds of things. Netflix has been diving into it, and I'm just like, can we please stop? Can we please just
Yeah.
stop?
I mean, anime and manga, let's keep going. They have their own streaming platform as well, don't they?
Yeah, there's Crunchyroll, and there's
Crunchyroll,
and
yeah.
there's Funimation, and the people who are fans of this stuff like the original content. So I don't really know what we're trying to do here. Are we trying to capture a broader audience? Because what they've typically done with all of this is just alienate the original audience and not capture any new audience, and then everybody hates their show. So
Yeah.
I don't get it. But all power to the Duffer Brothers. I hope they do a great job with the Death Note. I don't like that one. They're working on a couple of other projects, but the one big one that everybody's going to have eyes on is the Stranger Things spinoff series. So to recap, next season, season 5, which they haven't even started filming yet. They don't think it's going to start filming till next year, which probably puts it coming out in 2024. Would you say that's probably accurate, Kirk? I mean, I don't think we're getting it next year.
That is correct. They have not started writing. They're writing of season 5
Okay,
for reals.
we might be 2024 might be cutting it close, actually,
Yeah, they
if
said
that's
they're
where
gonna
we're at.
start writing. I'm sure they have ideas and like roadmaps and pictures and whatnot, storyboards, but they've not started officially writing it. They said they're gonna take a month off and then they're
Oh
gonna begin
boy.
writing.
Okay.
So I think by 2029 we
Yeah,
may
we'll
see
have it.
this come to fruition.
Okay, well, that's good to know. That's good insight. But whenever that comes out, 2024, 2029, whatever, it is the final season. Season 5 is the final season of Stranger Things. That has been said. The Duffer Brothers wrote it out. It's a done deal. There will not be a continuation beyond that. Um, so after that will come this Stranger Things spinoff. And the Duffer Brothers have been very tight-lipped about it, probably because they haven't even written the dang thing, as they haven't
Mhm.
even written season 5. But the one thing they are saying is that it's going to be very different from what's going on here. So it's going to be, you know, the truest form of a spinoff, meaning that there will not be, like, this group of people will not be involved in it. So that either means that we've got some sort of significant time jump, we're in a different location in the world, or there's some totally different entity that is somehow related to the entities that we've come to know and love, but different. Kirk, how do you, like, is there a way that this works, and what are you wanting from a Stranger Things spinoff, if anything?
Yeah, very different from like, so Star Wars, I'm the guy who's always saying, link it back to the Skywalker saga. So many people are like, no, get away from it.
Yeah.
Stay true to it. This one I feel has the opportunity to completely go that route, to just be to disband all of the characters that we've known and love and give us a whole new set, a whole new situation, a whole new, like you said, evil deity coming at us, and see what happens with that. I don't want any sprinkle of the original cast, except if somehow they look for an expert and Gayton comes in and he's like, hey guys, I've done this before, like for like an episode, right? Like otherwise I want a complete separation for this spinoff.
Yeah. And are you thinking, like, so here's what I'm having trouble wrapping my head around. So in our Stranger Things realm, and this could change in season 5, right? We've got Hawkins, and I feel like now, minor spoilers for season 4, I guess I'll say that. We sort of know why Hawkins was the epicenter of this whole thing, how the
Right.
Upside Down was created, why all of this is happening, why it happens to be Hawkins centric, etc. We sort of know that now. But then there's this Russia thing, which seems to be nothing more than just like rival foreign government trying to get in on the action with the stuff that the US was investigating. And so they ended up, understanding the Demogorgon and some of these entities and being able to harness that power. So, like, if I'm remembering correctly, in this most recent season, in Russia, they just had the creatures. They didn't have like a portal to the Upside Down there, did they?
Correct. No portals.
Yeah, so, like, the only gateways to the Upside Down that we know of are in Hawkins.
Hmm.
So I feel like they either have to explain how there would be gates or gateways elsewhere, or it has to take place in Hawkins with a time jump, it chapter 2 style, with like different kids who are, seriously, like it, like they're reading back through the history of the town and they're like, oh my gosh, there was a mall fire that killed all these people, and oh my gosh,
Hmm.
there was an earthquake that happened, and like how maybe these things are related. Like, that's the way that I envision it, because
Sure.
I don't know how they, like, right now where we're at, I don't know how they leave Hawkins.
Yeah, unless when they supposedly close all these gates, right? Let's assume that that's probably the victory that's coming in season 5.
Yeah.
And in closing one, it rips a hole on the other side of the earth
Mm,
open because the blast is so powerful, or whatever. Or that would be the only thing. Another gate would open in another area, but it would have access to a different realm of something else stewing that has been stewing for thousands of years, right? So
right.
that I could see that happening.
Yeah, I think they have to be careful with it though. Like, I feel like there is a risk of cheapening the original series if you
Yes.
make it like, oh, we time jump forward and it's like the same kind of stuff is happening again. And it's like everything that happened through those 5 seasons was all for naught because, again, we're dealing with the same things
Right.
in the future with totally different people, but, the same sort of thing. So we'll see. I mean, I think it was Tim commented in on our Facebook. As long as it has nothing to do with those kids 11 met in Chicago in that one episode, or like
That's
Pittsburgh or
right.
whatever it was, um,
Oh,
he
man.
said it was going to be like a hard pass, and I could not agree with that more. Like
Dude, the
that was
beginning
the
of
worst.
the beginning of that episode was like, "This is incredible. There's so many more of them. We're gonna explore them. We're gonna see
Yes.
where they're at in life." And what a huge letdown. Literally the worst episode of the entire series. I don't care how bad an episode might be in season 5, it will not be as bad as that. The idea of it was so good, and they in a way, they retconned the kids,
Yeah, they kind of
because
did.
because they're all dead, and b that the fact that uh they were back and they were cool and they were using their powers, right? So I'm interested, very interested, to see if that is the path they go and they make it better, maybe like another school, or prison rather, of MK Ultra, if you will,
Yeah.
enhanced individuals. That might be another option.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Well, whatever they go, I wish them the best of luck. I have really enjoyed Stranger Things. I think it's been a lot of fun. I think that the Duffer Brothers do great things, and that like the show, even in its down seasons, is its own thing, and it's iconic, and it's got all of the right elements, and they're really detailed in their approach in terms of like set design and all of those things. Like they do it the right way. So I think
Right.
it's one of those hit shows that has earned it, whereas, like, there are a lot of hit shows that haven't earned it, but have been marketed really well. This one is one that has really earned it, so I do wish the Duffer Brothers the best because I think that they're on to something for sure. Alright, let's move on to the next one. I wanna talk about an interesting story before we move into Marvel, Top Gun. And you're probably thinking, Top Gun again. What could there possibly be related to Top Gun that we haven't already talked about in the Maverick review, the mini episodes that followed? It's the movie of the summer, yada yada yada. But Miles Teller was talking to Entertainment Tonight and said that he has had conversations with Tom Cruise about Top Gun 3. They have had the conversations, but according to Miles Teller, it's quote all up to Tom, which I think
Hmm.
is obvious. But the fact that these conversations are being had, who's initiating the conversations? Is it Jerry Bruckheimer? Is it, Paramount? Obviously, Paramount probably wants more. They're like dollars. I mean, it just made $1 billion at the global box office. That's
Right.
insane. Paramount hasn't had a hit like that recently, and this is IP that they just unearthed after 36 years. Like, I'm sure they want a new one. But do you think that Tom Cruise wants another Top Gun? Do you think that they should do another Top Gun? Do you think it could work, or is it too risky?
I think it's too risky. I think Tom Cruise is such a smart, seasoned veteran of the business, not only as an actor but as a producer, of many a film. And I think that if it tanks, then it will negatively affect the whole thing. People love Top Gun for what it was and what it is. People absolutely adored Top Gun Maverick. You get a third one and it stinks, that all goes away because people only remember the how powerful the series is collectively. Like, think of your favorite movies and then the sequel came and you're like, ugh. Like, there's ones that we can forgive, like straight to video, like Little Mermaid 2, Cinderella 2,
Yeah, those don't
Lion
count.
King 3, like those can go away, right? But when they release in theater with such a big deal and such a big hype, and they're like, this is the next part of the story, and you mess it up, it's critical. Is a critical blow. So I vote no. I vote that Tom Cruise is happy to entertain that for the rest of his life, but I vote that they will not do a Top Gun 3.
Yeah, I struggle with this one. And it's funny because I'm usually the one who's like, don't touch it, leave it alone. So I'm like kind of fighting that internal conflict right here. But like I could almost see it working if they
Nope.
just they removed Tom Cruise from the equation because right, he's ridden off into the Tuscan sunset. He's out of here. And they go with Rooster and they do a straight up, they just James Cameron it. They just make it a war movie. They don't worry about the ties to the previous two films outside of some character ties, etc. And they just go straight war movie, fighter jets, lean into that plot out, kind of leave the Top Gun school. Like you can do the Top Gun school stuff. I mean, I don't know. It would be hard to find the balance, but I can almost see a vision there for doing it. But you're right. I mean, it is risky. It's ultra risky. And the reason that Maverick has been as successful as it has, I mean, I think a plurality of people who saw the movie in theaters were about like 50 and over. So
Yes.
it won because it was able to capture the interest of that audience by tying back to the original. But it's also winning over newer audiences because of the modern flair, the visuals, the story, which is excellent, the action, which is excellent. So it's like if you take away the ties to the original almost altogether by removing Tom Cruise and moving forward with this new guard, does it have the same punch? And I don't know if I know the answer to that question. I feel like
It's
I
okay.
feel like it could work, but I just don't know.
It's okay. I've got the plot. Here's what happens. You see, we never saw Iceman's family really. So Iceman's son is actually also in the military, but he's not
Mm,
he's not a flyer. He's not a pilot, right? And he somehow ends up in some foreign nation as like an IT guy, and his entire command gets like bombarded, and he's lost in the woods. And so he somehow has a note in his pocket with a phone number or a code, a dispatch, a radio frequency where he kicks it
okay.
back. It goes to Top Gun specifically, and Rooster, Hankman, and Bob are the ones that are still like rolling deep, and they're like, "We
Yeah.
got this," and they fly into enemy territory and they scoop Iceman's son out. And I think Hangman dies in that, unfortunately. And I think that's the story. There it is, right there.
You can't have Bob without Phoenix. I think they're a package deal. We got to have them both.
Okay,
But
get Phoenix in there.
it's a
Yeah,
search and rescue, is what you're saying.
it's a search and rescue
It's
for
Saving Private Ryan.
yes, yes, but Top Gun style, Iceman's son. And Iceman's son does not know how to fly. However, at some point, he will be in a position where someone passes out and he has to throw them back in the back of the jet, and he has to fly the plane. And he has
Yeah.
to get narrated how to do it by probably Rooster.
Yes. I mean, you
I
wrote
wrote
that
I
in
wrote it. I wrote it.
30
Just saying.
seconds, and that's
Yeah.
pretty good. So I'm just thinking, like, if they have a couple years to cook something up, they could come up with like a version of that is like plot hole free, and then we're going.
The good news is that this is recorded. This is
Yes.
copyrighted. That if any of that comes to fruition, we will be billionaires. A and B. It's also an offer to Tom Cruise. So
It
Tom, I know
is.
you're listening to this, or Miles, I
He
know you're a
watches
regular
everything.
listener.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, he watches everything. It's
that's it.
I'm not sure you're exactly 100% correct on the legal protections there, but I mean, we'll
Hmm,
fight
hmm.
it. We'll fight hard.
Yes,
So I agree. I'm glad that you put it into the universe so that we can strike while the iron's hot. But Top
perfect.
Gun 3, it could be coming. Sounds like Kirk is out. I am potentially in. I am potentially in, and nobody is more surprised to hear that than I am. Okay, let's shift gears to Marvel because there's a lot of Marvel stuff happening right now on the heels of Thor: Love and Thunder. On the heels of we've got the Miss Marvel finale this week on Wednesday. We got a couple stories about general Marvel news. We've got a story about an upcoming film and then a story about an upcoming series. So we're going to start with the film news, which is that Captain America 4, which I don't it's almost certainly not going to be called Captain America 4 because they didn't call the second one 2 and third one 3, but that's the working title for now. Captain America 4 is on the way, which we already knew, but they have found their director, and the director's name is Julius Ona, who has a very limited resume of films. This is sort of becoming a new trend for Marvel. They had a run there where they were choosing directors who had like one big hit, like Nia DaCosta and Ryan Coogler and a few of the directors of that ilk. Um, but now they're almost even going more niche than that. Like, um, I can't remember the person that they hired to direct. Oh man, what film was it? They had a movie recently where they hired a director where there was like almost no background there except for like one movie. But I can't remember
Hmm.
which. Maybe it was Blade. It was Blade. That was the one where it's like very limited resume. This is the same thing. Julius Onah's claim to fame really is the Cloverfield paradox. I feel like that's the most mainstream one that people will know, which was, I believe it was released straight to Netflix and didn't get a theatrical run. And it
Okay.
is a Cloverfield franchise film, but I have never seen it actually.
Hmm.
So that's egg on my face. I have seen the first Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane, and I like both of those movies, but I haven't seen the Cloverfield Paradox, so I'll have to check that out. The other film that he directed um, is Loot. I don't know if it's Lucci or Loose or whatever, but it is like Naomi Watts and Octavia Spencer and Tim Roth and a few others who are in that film. But like I said, like those are the two big ones. The rest of them are all shorts. So this is a new name, but this will be the first Captain America film to star Anthony Mackie as Captain America in the role. Kirk, how are you feeling about this movie and the decision to go with a director with a pretty limited background, though they've done it a couple times before?
Yeah, I feel confident about it for sure. I feel really confident that Anthony Mackie is at the helm here. He has done several films as the lead character, just not in Marvel. So he definitely has the power to ground a film. He definitely has the power to bring his new flair, as we saw in as flawed as the series was, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But he has the definite chops to play Captain America in a full fledged film. The director, I think it's the best bet. You think of like let's call Mark Hamill, right? Like he was an unknown essentially when he joined Star Wars. It's very similar. You throw an unknown into it, you put the pressure on him, and a diamond pops out. So I think that's what's going to happen similarly here with this director.
Yeah, and I think too, like Marvel has gone the route. They've been doing a mix lately, where like in some ways they're bringing back big directors like Taika returning to Thor, Sam Raimi directing uh, Multiverse of Madness, etc. But then they've got these other newer directors like Chloe Zhao, who of course became an Academy Award winner before she won. But before that, like No Man Land was her first big break. So it's an interesting mix, and I don't know. Like to me, I don't feel like the directors are having as much of an impact on the Marvel films as the universe is having and the plot lines are having, if that makes sense. Like obviously when you watch Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, you can see his flair and it looks great. And the aesthetic and stuff is all there. But in some ways that movie doesn't work as well because the story holds it back, which is more of like a Michael Waldron, Kevin Feige type of issue there. And so I feel like for me, the Marvel movies only go as far as like Kevin Feige takes them. And yeah, a lot of that is about getting the right people in the chair. But like in some ways, I feel like it's good to have a new director because I feel like Feige tends to go more hands off with the
Hmm.
established guys because he kind of said that with Raimi and with Taika, and you could definitely tell in Thor: Love and Thunder that Taika it was more hands off with Taika there, and I don't know that that's for the best technically because I felt like with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the story suffered and the pacing suffered, which could have been, a Raimi thing. It could have been Feige, but just based on the way he talks about it, it could have been more Raimi. And then in Thor: Love and Thunder, it's like the story was good, but the they were underutilizing actors. The jokes didn't land as well. Like there were different issues. So I almost feel like it might be better for them to go with people who have smaller resumes so they can be more of a collaborative process. But
Yeah.
that is like literally 100% speculation on my part
Right.
and not based on anything.
Or at the front end, be like, "Hey, listen, Scorsese, I know we finally got you to
Oh
direct
my gosh.
Ant-Man 7, and I really wanna thank you for being here. I also wanna tell you that the vision of the universe is first, and so we
Yeah.
want your flair, we want your style, we want you to direct this movie, but we need to navigate you towards what's next as well." So you need that collaboration. That's what all the arts is about, right? In theater and in any kind of art creation, and especially in cinema. If you don't have the collaboration, it falls apart, and movies don't reach their best expectation. Don't shortstop, someone and short circuit them and take out their creativity or their uniqueness. But you also need someone's vision to say, "Hey, listen, your stuff is good, but it can
Yeah.
be great, and let it be great."
I agree. I feel like Feige, like my read on the whole situation, just like listening to the commentaries and the behind the scenes and the way people talk about things, like it feels like through the first three phases, Feige was so much more hands on, and now it's like there are so many things happening that he's producing a Star Wars movie and he's working on all these different things. There's all these shows. He has to be slightly more hands off. Um, and I mean, I think there's more conversation to be had there on if that's the right thing or not, because there was a period of time there where every Marvel film, banger, 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 right in a row, like they were not missing for a good couple of years there, just flat out not missing. Um, so I don't know. We'll see, but I'm excited for the Anthony Mackie era as Captain America. Like I loved Chris Evans Captain America, but Anthony, like without a doubt, absolutely loved it. Anthony Mackie can bring it. I think the world is going to find out what this dude's about. He's already a big star, but I think he's going to be a mega star
For sure.
because he's that good.
And there's gonna be a big jump, right, between Disney Plus series,
Oh yeah.
Captain America, Anthony Mackie, and film cinematic
Oh yes.
MCU. Like, there has to be like, there's gonna be upgrades. There's gonna be like a swagger that he knows the weight that he carries. He already
Oh
does, but
yeah.
he's not gonna feel as nervous about it because he's already been doing it by the time we see him hit the screen. So it's gonna be really strong. I'm really excited.
Me too. Me too. All right, let's talk about another Disney Plus series, which had some really interesting news come out this week, and that series is Echo. We've heard about it. We've met Echo, Maya Lopez, in the Hawkeye series, which was a nice, pleasant surprise. Really cool character, one of the newer Marvel characters, and one that has a really rich backstory that ties in, obviously, very heavily to the Kingpin, as we learned in Hawkeye, but also to the rest of the Defenders, and kind of one of those smaller scale, down to earth, friendly neighborhood type of superheroes in a way, kind of like the New York locale of superhero. So Maya Lopez makes for a really interesting case. Well, we know she's getting her own show, but what we learned from the Hollywood Reporter this week, and Boris Kitt, who is always doing amazing reporting work, um, Charlie Cox is going to be reprising his role yet again in that series, as well as Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin, who last we saw was getting shot point blank in broad daylight by Maya Lopez. I believe two shots were fired at the Kingpin, and so the question is, are these flashbacks? Is he going to be alive? I think if you ask me and Kirk, he's alive. Kirk,
Yes.
do you agree? Definitely
Absolutely
alive.
alive.
You don't kill the Kingpin like that. But what's really interesting is there was another story, um, also from the Hollywood Reporter. Well, it's in the same story, that Kristen Ritter may be involved here, because one of the plot lines is meant to be that Daredevil is looking for one of his former compatriots, that person being Miss Jessica Jones. And if they're bringing back Charlie Cox and they're bringing back Vincent D'Onofrio, you can bet that Jessica Jones would be played by none other than Kristen Ritter. And more evidence to that fact is that Marvel and Disney Plus have changed the name of the series Jessica Jones on Disney Plus to be called AKA Jessica Jones. If you go look at it now, the
What?
series is called AKA Jessica Jones on the title card. So it could be leaning that way. Kirk, how are we feeling about
Wow.
all these news stories here?
I am feeling so happy because I felt like long ago as the MCU was warming up, and I was like, why is Netflix allowed to do this Daredevil series? But I don't.
Yeah.
It's strange, but I love it. I like we that was one that dropped when those seasons hit. It was boom, you get all of them. It was the OG Netflix um formula for releasing content, and I absolutely ate it up. I was devastated completely every time that the season ended, that I finished it within one weekend, and I'm super pumped about this. I loved almost all of the series. Take away Iron Fist. I don't think we have to worry about that coming back into the MCU anytime soon. But this team up was perfect. Their series were strong. They had their missteps, but like overall, like there was nothing wrong with them, and brilliant that the characters and the actors especially are still excited to come back to this. I know Charlie Cox has just been itching to come to the big screen on this, and I'm so excited that this is the next step, and I want him on the silver screen as well because he deserves it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely coming. I think they're planting the seeds because Daredevil is the kind of hero that can hold a solo film. I mean, they've given solo films to much smaller heroes already.
Yes.
Um, and they will continue to do so as the MCU grows and expands. But when you think about the Defenders, all those Netflix series, the two that stand out, the two standout performers, I think almost unanimously, are Charlie Cox and Kristen Ritter. Like Jessica Jones, I don't think was as good a show as Daredevil, but that season one of Jessica Jones was awesome, must watch TV, and she is great in that role. So I think they're putting themselves in an interesting predicament as it relates to Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Punisher, etc. Like, will John Bernthal return as the Punisher, um, etc. There's almost no way in the world that Iron Fist returns as is, because I know that that was a miserable experience for the people who worked on that series. But
Right.
I'm just interested, like, how are they going to explain who comes back and who doesn't?
Yeah, I also think that maybe Finn Jones, Iron Fist, has just been killed, and like kind of like in What If, how Tony Stark dies in every single
Yeah, yeah,
universe.
right.
That's gonna be Iron Fist. Like he'll appear momentarily, and someone will just off him, just
it'll
like
be
that.
it'll be it'll be Wanda.
It'll be Wanda. She's like,
Like the Scarlet
no.
Witch just shows up and shreds him into pieces, like makes him explode. Um,
Yes.
yeah, they'll come up with something, but there's no way that guy is coming back. So
No, not a chance.
we'll see what happens. But Echo is already sounding like a really good time. So hopefully it lives up to the hype. Okay, last Marvel thing, and then we'll do a couple quick hitters and we'll get out of here. And the big news is Marvel is returning to San Diego ComicCon this year. Marvel is returning. And if you remember, the last time they were there was 2019, and they appeared in Hall H for what is now a historic presentation, a panel for the ages where they rolled out all of Phase 4, put it on the screen. They were bringing actors onto the stage. People were losing their minds. Natalie Portman holding Mjolnir, Mahershala Ali as Blade. I mean, people were absolutely losing their marbles over this stuff. And they are set to take the stage again 3 years later on Saturday, July 23rd. Happy anniversary, Kirk.
Happy anniversary to me and my wife. That's
So
right.
you'll be occupied having dinner or something like that, and I will be feverishly typing up the updates for Discord and Twitter. But Marvel's coming back. They're calling it a mega panel. The people who are hyping up the event, they're like, Marvel will have a mega panel in Hall H on July 23rd. Kirk, what do you have to see from this panel?
Oh,
Like, if you have a wish list, okay? If you have a wish list of things, like, what is it that you want more than anything?
oh my goodness. I I don't even know how to answer that question.
So here's how I'll phrase it. It can be a new project that nobody's heard of at all.
Okay.
There's not even been a whisper of it. Something like I don't know, like a Namor
Yeah.
movie or Adam Warlock movie or something like that. Or it could be casting announcements for
Okay.
projects that we have yet to hear about.
Yeah, I would say that I have been going through my dad's old comic books and reading tons and tons and tons more about different Marvel characters, villains and heroes, and all the in betweens. And one character that is very much, I feel, could be very relevant in today's world, brought back from the world of comics, even from the Silver Age and Golden Age, is the character Sentry. And the character
Yes, I
Sentry,
love Sentry.
this story is so cool. So Sentry starts out as this he's a drug addict, right? And then he accidentally gets allowed these powers. He takes an injection of what he thinks is a drug, which technically it is, and then he has this dichotomy of I need this to survive, but I want to stay sober. And then there's like this evil void that enters him, and that he has to fight off, and then that entity goes away. Like, I feel like there is a really fantastic storytelling there as we get into as we began in phase 4, and it's kind of trickled away a little bit, but as we began in phase 4 with like WandaVision and even Falcon and the Winter Soldier and even Shang-Chi, we found some very heavy current event topics that were
Yes.
attacked. And I feel like this one is also just right up Marvel's alley. So Sentry is at the top of my list, which would be, I don't know how far fetched. I don't know if it could be a standalone right away, but introducing Sentry as a character, I think, would be incredible in Phase 5.
I don't think it's that far fetched. I think here's the thing. Sentry, there are some great Sentry stories out there. I have a Sentry trade that's like the most well-known Sentry run, and it's fantastic, fabulous. I love it.
Yeah.
But I think like where it becomes difficult to see a place for it is in the lens of the multiverse and everything that they're cooking up. Like in some ways, there's clear line of sight to X-Men and Fantastic Four
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and Secret Wars and Doctor Doom and Kang and like all these things that they're sort of laying the path out for. Like there is very much clear line of sight to that. Whereas with a character like Sentry, there is less so, but it is a great character, a really well written character with a good backstory who could be really cool. So I mean, I don't think it's impossible. We've seen them do like I didn't think Blade was coming back. I didn't think Blade
Right.
was coming back anytime soon. I didn't think that, you know, I don't know, Namor. I didn't know that we were going to get a Namor. You know, he's rumored to appear in Wakanda Forever.
And more
So
specifically with Sentry, I mean, he is a blonde superhero. Wink, wink.
not enough of
He
that.
he is, a very handsome feller. Wink, wink. And I feel like I would look great in yellow and
Here we
blue.
go. Here we
I
go.
think that this is the time to really let me step into the
Kirk's always
MCU.
plugging
Yeah,
himself into the MCU. Well, I mean, listen, Kirk, they make enough movies. You're going to get a call. It's just a matter of time. Like the rate that they're cranking things out, they're running out of people. It's just going to
yeah.
become a numbers game at some
You
point.
I don't mean to brag, but I may have sent out a tweet that was very much like Simu Liu's. So gosh, now I'm gonna die.
Simu Liu, yeah.
Yes, his tweet that got him his role, and sent it directly to Marvel.
Was it
Haven't
about
heard any
Sentry?
about Sentry. Yeah, I even threw Hyperion in there. Why not? Let's
Why?
go. I'll
Yeah,
do
let's get
anything.
weird, right?
Yeah, I mean, you need a Superman more than ever. Right now is the time to hit when DC is down
Oh
at
boy.
Superman. So I just want to say that it's been a good 199 episodes. I don't
I'm gonna
know
cut your
where.
mic. I'm gonna cut your mic. I'm gonna cut your mic. All right, and now for my wish list, it's well, I'm not gonna choose two things that's cheating because that's cheating. But I think number one, and I almost don't want to say this because I think we will get it, but I have to walk away with fantastic forecasting. I have to. I have
Mhm,
to. I have like if we leave that panel on Saturday, July 23rd, without knowing who are playing the Fantastic Four and potentially Doctor Doom, I would love that as well. Then I don't know. I don't know how I can continue to go on. Like I have to know. I have to know who the four people are. I would love to have the director announcement. I understand that John Watts, like that whole departure probably wasn't planned, so maybe they're just not there yet. But for sure, have to have the casting. Have to.
mhm.
Um, my second one, if I can sneak it in, would be something related to the X-Men, but Fantastic Four is 1000% the top of my list.
I hear that. I mean, I went more obscure, but whatever, no big deal.
I know.
Um,
I took the easy one, but I do feel like we have to have it. I need to know. I need to know. Like is John Krasinski, like Mr. Fantastic, Is Emily Blunt the Invisible Woman? Like, I have to know these things now. I have to know. Will
Yeah,
Chris Evans return to play the multiverse Human Torch? I have to
dude.
know these things. Like, I need to know now. I need to.
He says he's game for it because that would
Yeah, it would
be
be awesome.
so great. Absolutely so incredible.
If they do Secret Wars, they're 1000% doing that.
Oh yeah.
If they do Secret Wars and it's like all these multiverse mashup and they do another Avengers Assemble and it's like let's call in like they'll bring in Jessica Alba, they'll do the whole freaking thing, man. You know they will, and it'll be amazing.
They will because they'll pay them buku bucks, and who of those would not want redemption at especially the
Right?
Fantastic Four actors, redemption at those characters.
Exactly. I don't know. I'm excited, but I hope that that's what it is. All right, let's get off of that train. We're running out of time. Let's do some final thoughts. Some quick hitters here. One, and then we do have some trailer reaction. I do want to do some trailer reaction here at the end. But quick hitters, real quick, is that one, Michael Mann, according to Empire, wants to make Heat 2, like a sequel to the movie Heat. Yes or no, Kirk?
I've never seen the first one all the way through. It's been a TNT watch through like piece by piece, catch a
Yeah.
couple minutes here,
Yeah.
catch an hour here. So I would say meh, not necessary.
Yeah, I just watched the first one. I loved it. I think let's leave it. I think Michael Mann is great. Yeah, I'm sure if he wants to do Heat 2, he has a plan for it. But on this one, I'm leaning towards let's leave it alone. Next one, Avatar: The Way of Water, according to Empire, is reportedly the current cut is reportedly 3 hours long, which shouldn't come as a surprise, Kirk,
No.
because the first one is 3 hours long. And James Cameron, if you want to tell him that it's too long, he'll have some choice words for you because he has the time. Let me tell you, he is taking no prisoners right now, just firing out pot shots left and right at people who are coming for that for him. But what's your reaction to the current cut being 3 hours long? Do you think it stays that way? Do you think that's good or bad?
I think it's not shocking at all. And I also think the more I sit on this, the more I sit on Avatar sequels, I don't know about 3, 4, and 5, but I think that James Cameron has a lot to prove with his storytelling with
Agreed.
Avatar 2. And I think that he is pumping everything he can into it. We have the returning actors who have won so many accolades since or some before, but particularly Sam Worthington is far better than he was when we found him in Avatar 1, which is
Agreed.
probably one of the biggest issues with that movie is that his acting was just poor performance. And I mean, ever since Hacksaw Ridge hit and on, the man doesn't miss. So I feel like James Cameron will not allow Avatar 2 to falter. I feel like 3 hours is just the beginning. I think we're going to get like 3 hours and 20 minutes all together here.
It could be. I agree with you. I think James Cameron's going to hit it out of the park. I think he's going to do everything in his power to make this a good movie. And the first one builds a great world. It just doesn't have a very compelling story, and because of that, 3 hours feels excruciating. But this one looks more action packed. It's probably going to have a better story because he's going to tighten up the screws. He's obviously very sensitive about it because he's clapping back at everybody who's coming for him. So I'm inclined to believe that it's going to be good. James Cameron is a genius. Let's not lose that in this. Like the dude
Correct.
is a cinematic genius. He's done some amazing things. Like people have recency bias and they're like James Cameron, he's washed. The dude is not washed. He is a genius. So I have all the faith in him to turn it around and turn in something that's epic. Okay, last one. We've been talking about Mickey 7 casting. That's Bong Joon-ho's next film with Robert Pattinson. According to Deadline, joining a cast of Robert Pattinson, Naomi Ackie, Mark Ruffalo, and Toni Collette is now Steven Yeun. Steven Yeun, Academy Award nominee for
Yes.
Minari. Your thoughts?
Yes, I think it's brilliant. I want to see him in every single movie that comes out these days because he has such a good passion, like a fire in his eyes,
Yes.
where the way he approaches characters, and I think this is great. I mean, I don't understand the premise of the movie, why it would be about like Mickey Mouse and his friends, like Mickey 7. That part I'm lost on. So I don't know why Bong Joon-ho would want a Disney spinoff. That's
Yeah,
That's strange to me.
it's not at all what it is.
No, it
So
is because it's right there, Mickey 7. Like,
it
you've got
is. It's in the
Mickey,
name. I can
you've got
see
Donald, you've got
how you
Goofy.
got there.
It's the whole gang, man. It's them right there. It's a
Pluto,
twisted,
they're
dark
all there.
world. I mean, it's gonna be like it's like Mickey Mouse and his friends, Mickey Mouse's clubhouse in the
Yeah.
Upside Down. Is what it is.
It's yeah, it could be. It could be. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I have read the book. I don't remember exactly how. I don't remember that going down, but who knows? It
Mhm.
could get weird. It's Bong. It's Bong Joon-ho. We know it's going to get weird
Yep.
in all of the best ways. Okay, we don't have time to show the trailers, but we got two big trailers this last week, including David O. Russell's Amsterdam, which we've been hearing tons about, starring John David Washington, Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, Robert De Niro, Rami Malek, Anya Taylor-Joy, Taylor Swift, everyone who has ever acted is in this film. The other film is The Woman King, starring Academy Award winner Viola Davis, one of the greatest of all time, one of the goats, as well as John Boyega, Lashana Lynch. Kirk, you've watched both trailers. Give me a quick thoughts on both of them.
Quick question. I'll
Yes.
counter with you. Is Amsterdam also loose? Well, I think Woman King is heavily like related to real true story. Is Amsterdam related to a true story?
Yes. Yes,
Gotcha.
I think it's similar to American Hustle in that way.
Okay, cool. For me, I lean more towards Amsterdam because, like, the Amazonian world, much like the Viking world, it's not something that I'm interested in, right? So it could turn me though because I went into Northman thinking that I would hate it,
Yeah.
and so there's a chance. There's an open door for me to know that there's a possibility with Viola Davis and the creative team that it could be good. But I'm leaning toward Amsterdam is going to be my stronger choice here. It looks absolutely electric.
Yeah, I think both trailers I'm excited about. Amsterdam looks great. It certainly looks very David O. Russell, but if you didn't know who David O. Russell was, which for the record he directed The Fighter, Silver Linings Playbook, Joy, American Hustle, many others. But if you didn't know who that person was, you would look at this film and say it's like a Chris Nolan film and a Wes Anderson film had a baby,
Yep.
and based on that description, I would always be in because that sounds fantastic in many ways. Like at first you would be like, that does not work. But then whenever you see this, you're like, actually, yes, that is an accurate description and it totally does work. So I'm very excited. Most excited, exciting part for me out of that trailer is Margot's character. I
hmm
think she really still has such a small list of credits and such a small resume. She hasn't, even though she's one of the best in the biz right now and has turned in a bunch of like really transformative performances like I Tanya and her Harley Quinn performance, and a couple of really understated but great performances like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Wolf of Wall Street. She hasn't had a chance to just really like build a character that's not like a bombastic, crazy, transformative role and to kind of like play a character that's closer related to herself in terms of appearance, speech, things like that. And it looks like they're really giving her a lot here. And the clips in the trailer looked fantastic. So I'm very excited for that. And then with the Woman King, it's Viola. I'm glad John Boyega's back on the screen. It's been a little while. Excited to see more Lashana Lynch, who's just absolutely killing it in everything she does. I thought she stole the show in No Time to Die. I thought she was awesome.
hmm
Um, but Viola, like she's calling it, she's calling this performance her magnum opus. She like trained with weapons and weight training for months, like 5 days a week for months, and
Wow.
got into like the best shape of her life and looks like an absolute beast in this movie. And I think, you watch the trailer and you go, yeah, the plot's probably going to be not enough to carry this thing through. I don't know. Like that's just the way that it kind of looks. Like there's not a ton of plot going on, but the action looks sick. So like either way, I'm there.
I'm curious if the same trailer cut people put that together that did the Northman, because you went into Northman thinking you'd have these big, sweeping Viking epics like every
Yes.
5 minutes, and that was not the case. You had this very character-driven piece, and I feel like that's what draws people in, that kind of, smoke and mirrors. It really does. And then if you get like a really well-grounded story behind that, which very likely we will. Especially Viola Davis wouldn't take this project if it wasn't that.
I tend
So
to agree because she also isn't the type of person to pump up a project that's not going
no,
to be any good. Like she takes good roles and like she won't gush about something calling it her like I wouldn't expect that from her. She wouldn't gush about something calling it her magnum opus if the movie sucked. Like Chris Pratt will absolutely do that. He does that all the time. He's like, "We made an awesome film," and then you watch the film and it's like the Tomorrow War, and you're like, "It's fine," or
yes,
like it's Jurassic World Dominion, and you're like, "It's awful. What are you talking about, dude?" But Viola Davis is not that person. Like she
she'll
hasn't
just be like,
been.
I hope you enjoy it. I really do.
Yeah, right. I see her doing that more so than being like, "This is the performance of my career." Like I'm excited about it for that reason alone. But either way, we got a lot of good stuff coming out. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode or watching if you're on the stream or on YouTube. We are so glad to have you. The next episode of Popcorn for Breakfast will be our 200th episode.
Dude,
So thank you all so much for being a part of the ride. It's impossible for me to even hear that and know that. Like it's been, we've been doing this for 3 years, 200 episodes. That's a lot of recordings. That's a lot of talking. It's been a total blast. We have yet to decide what we're going to do with episode 200, whether it be a movie review or something else, but we're sort of leaning toward doing a state of the MCU discussion because I think that is sort of a perfect microcosm. Like if you go back through this podcast, I'm sure the one thing you will find we talked about more than anything will be the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just because those are the times that we live in. And I think coming off of Thor: Love and Thunder, it makes a lot of sense for us to have that conversation. So maybe we'll do that. But either way, thank you guys so much for being a part. We're glad you're here. And we're going to leave you with that. And with our executive producer, Ryan Spriggs, we, of course, want to give him a special thank you, as always, as well as the band Rhetoric, whose music is fading up right now. Take a listen to those guys on Apple Music, Spotify, Google Music, whatever. And we will see you guys next time.
talk to you then.
Bye.